Have you ever learned something that totally shook your world as far as what you thought you knew about a certain topic? That just happened to me. Let's talk about tubes. First and foremost, Glenn Fricker put out an awesome video about what different tubes sound like in guitar amps. And in that context, I completely agree with him. As a guitar guy, for a long time, I thought the tubes made a huge difference. I bought the boutique tubes. I bought cheap tubes. I had tubes around here, and after I saw that video, I tested it, and surprise, surprise, no audible difference. There may be like a feel thing happening, but from a sonic standpoint, I couldn't tell a difference, especially in the context of a mix. Great video, go check it out. With that in mind, we all have preconceived notions about what a tube microphone sounds like. We think tubes, distortion, saturation, warm. Well, I've never had a tube and a non-tube version mic to test at the same time. Lo and behold, I got a Creative Mics, I got FET versions and tube versions. I want to see what a tube sounds like. I had a good friend Caleb come over, incredible guitar player, and we just got to play around with tones. He's also a very talented producer and engineer, and he has really good ears, so he was the perfect person to test this with. I have toothpaste on my shirt. Life with toddlers. Okay, just ignore it. So we got to test these mics in a guitar context. That was what we had access to at the time, but we could hear what a tube imparts to the sound. I mic'd these things as close as I could. Obviously, I can't get them in the exact same position on the exact same performance, but I wanted to see them in the same performance. I didn't want what the player was doing to influence what we were hearing on the mic, so we got them as close as possible. The positions were about as neutral and as common as possible, and we kind of ended with more questions than answers. I'll be the first to admit, I thought tube meant warm, it meant attitude, it meant MOJO, that it was gonna bring some kind of awesome vibe to the whole thing. That's not really what we heard. Don't get me wrong, both of these sound great. And even in some of the electric guitar cases, I tossed up a 57 just to see how a 57, because that's something a lot of us who have mic'd up a guitar cab, we can latch onto really quick. What does a 57 sound like on an amp? Here it is. So then using that context, what does a FET version of this particular mic sound like? Now with all that information, what then does a tube sound like? This will never be a truly perfect experiment. I don't have laser precision to reamp and put these in the exact position, but I'm not sure that's totally the point in what I'm trying to do here. Real world practice, if I reach for a microphone, what is the application of a tube microphone versus its FET counterpart? Is there a difference? Is it worth the price difference? Some of the things that I took away, and by the way, if you want to hear more of these examples, listen to the full thing, hear me and Caleb's reactions in real time as we listen through that, go to the Patreon, sign up there. I'll put the sound files available on my website. You can download for free if you want to check them out, because it was interesting. It was an interesting experiment. And if you're curious about it too, you can hear it in your own environment, because I'm sure YouTube's going to do some weird stuff with the compression here. What was really interesting at the end of this experiment, I had to come face to face with what I thought about tubes in the context of a microphone was wrong. It wasn't. This is a hard one to kind of break down. I don't think what I was hearing was the tube. I think the tube was letting the microphone do what the microphone wanted to do. If anything, I didn't hear attitude. I didn't hear saturation. I didn't hear warm. If anything, listening to them back to back, the same mic, different circuits, if anything, I think I was hearing the limitations of a FET circuit, if that makes any sense. The FETs sounded great. They have, in some applications, kind of like a pre-finished sound. There's like almost a compressed vibe that you can get from it, that mid-forward thing that sits so well in modern mixes. The tube offered something completely different. The tube, if anything, completely got out of the way. It was like you were just listening to what was happening. There was a bloom in the top end. There was no ceiling to what you were hearing. If you go back and forth between the tube and the FET version, there's a noticeable high-end cut there. There's a ceiling. There's something you have to try to punch through, almost like a blanket is over the entire thing, where the tube just, I don't know, it's like it's not even there. So where I thought a tube was this attitude and MOJO, it's really just beautiful and open. And I'm sure there's different ways you can wire a microphone, and I'd be interested to try something like the Lewitt, where you can decide to use the tube or the FET in the same microphone, and that would be a cool test. I'd be interested to see if I find the same reactions there, or if there's a little bit of marketing happening behind the scenes and they're leaning into what we all think a tube kind of does to a sound. Now, don't take my word for it. Go download the files. They're on my website. They're free. This is the best way I could think to make them available. If you want to see more stuff, go to the Patreon. There's links to both in the descriptions. Thanks to Caleb for helping out with this project and this nerdy deep dive. Thank you guys for watching. I'm interested to see what you guys think when you listen to the files. Don't mind my dad toothpaste on my shirt. I don't think I'll ever have a clean shirt ever again. Dad life. Hit the like button if you liked it. Hit the subscribe button if you want to see more stuff like this. I have these mics for a little bit more. I like to have fun and experiment just like this, and hopefully we can learn something together. I'm Resident Loser Jeremy. I'll see you guys in the next one.